Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Veronica Lane, and I'm the Director of Training at Veronica Lane Consulting. For over the past 28 years, I've been working with organizations to help them navigate the often messy and chaotic reality of projects. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: change is the only constant. But here's the key: how we respond to change, how we lead through it, determines whether our projects succeed or stall. Over the next few, we're going to dig into what it really means to lead in times of uncertainty. By the end of our session, you'll walk away with 3 things. First, strategies to navigate shifting conditions with clarity. Second, techniques to strengthen your leadership presence. And third, practical tools to keep projects on track, even when the ground beneath them is moving. So let's dig in. The nature of change. Let's start by acknowledging the world we're working in. Projects today aren't disrupted just by what's happening inside our companies. They're shaped by global events, emerging technologies, economic uncertainty, and even cultural shifts. Change is constant, and it comes at us from every direction. I like to think of change in 3 realities. It's inevitable, it's disruptive, and it's opportunity. The change is most of us are wired to resist. But resistance wastes energy that could be redirected towards adapting and even thriving. Take a moment to think about what type of change tends to cause the most disruption in your projects. Is it shifting priorities, resource changes, leadership turnover, or external events like regulations or the economy? As you think of this, I want you to consider it as being something that's eye-opening, something that you haven't had the opportunity to just think about. Because we can see that while the types of change vary, the common thread is that it tests our leadership, which leads us to the heart of today's conversation. Leadership in uncertainty. When the environment is uncertain, people don't just look for processes, they look for leadership. And not just any leadership. They look for leaders who can strike a balance between stability and flexibility. Leaders who can be transparent, empathetic, and decisive, even when they don't always have the answers. This is what I call adaptive leadership. It's the ability to say, here's what we know, here's what we don't know yet, and here's how we'll move forward together. It shifts us away from a command and control mindset and towards collaboration and trust. Let me share a quick story. A few years ago, I worked with a technology company going through a merger. Overnight, their priorities, reporting lines, and budgets shifted. The project team was in chaos, and the leader could have clamped down, demanding control, but instead, she pulled the team into a daily 15-minute stand-up. She was honest about what she didn't know. She asked the team what they needed most in that moment. And within weeks, not only had the team stabilized, but they were outperforming their original schedule. Why do you think that is? Well, it's because the leader leaned into uncertainty instead of resisting it. That's the power of adaptive leadership. Tools to keep projects on track. Now, leadership is about presence and mindset, but it's also about tools. Because when the change does hit, projects get messy fast, and we need anchors. Here are a few tools that work especially well when things are shifting. 1. Scenario planning. Build if-then plans so that you're not caught flat-footed. Contingency buffers. Time and budget cushions that act as shock absorbers. Agile prioritization. Distinguishing between what must get done versus what can shift. And RAID logs, which stands for risks, assumptions, issues, and dependencies. It's a simple way but powerful way to keep your finger on the project's pulse. I want you to now think back to a moment when a change disrupted your projects. What helped you get through it? Maybe it was a tool, maybe a conversation, maybe you're reframing your mindset. As you think of it, I want you to consider the wisdom that you can take from your thoughts. Change may look different for each of us, but the way we anchor ourselves makes all the difference. Transforming challenges into opportunities. Here's where it gets interesting. Change isn't just something to survive, it's something we can leverage. The leaders who stand out aren't the ones who shield their teams from change, but those who transform it into an opportunity. This does take a mindset shift. Instead of seeing change as a threat, see it as a test of leadership. Instead of feeling like you've lost control, frame it as a chance to innovate. Data does back this up. According to PMI, projects that embrace agile change management are 33% more likely to succeed. That's not a small number. It's the difference between struggling to keep up and actually moving ahead. Let me give you an example. A client of mine in healthcare faced sudden regulatory changes mid-project. Initially, the team saw it as a disaster, but by asking, what can this requirement push us to improve? They found a way to streamline documentation that not only met the new law, but it cut their reporting cycle in half. What started as a disruption turned into their competitive edge. That's what's possible when we choose opportunity over fear. Leading with agility and confidence. So how do we strengthen ourselves as leaders of change? Here are 3 categories of practices that I recommend. Rituals. Those could be short daily stand-ups, weekly retrospectives. They're rituals that keep momentum alive. Could also be techniques. Decision clarity frameworks, stakeholder mapping, tools that reduce the confusion. And also maybe personal practices. Emotional intelligence, resilience, staying centered, because your calm sets the tone for your team. I want you to think about this. Which skill do you most want to strengthen right now? Is it decision clarity, communication, adaptability, or is it resilience? What I love about this conversation is that no matter which skill you picked, each of them fuels agility and confidence. And here's the truth. People don't follow a perfect leader. They follow a present, grounded leader, one who adapts, communicates, and invites them into the process. As we close this conversation, I want you to remember that change is inevitable, but leadership is optional. The leaders who step forward with clarity, tools, and courage are the ones who not only keep projects on track, but they inspire their teams to thrive. So here's my challenge for you. Choose just one tool, one mindset, or one ritual from our conversation. Put it into practice this week. Small steps create momentum. Thank you for coming together today. Thank you for the gift of your time and energy. If you'd like to keep the conversation going, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you're curious about deeper dives into project leadership, I'd love to share more about our upcoming opportunities through Veronica Lane Consulting. Take a look at the comments for more information.